I'm really excited to be here tonight. As you guys have learned a little bit about KTI, the last couple of months, we've actually learned a lot about the Chamber and didn't really spend much time thinking about what the Chamber can offer to local business in Aurora. And so having the opportunity for a couple of our employees to attend a session and then get to know Sandra a little bit over the last little while, I've been really impressed with what you guys have been able to put together, especially through the pandemic. We really look forward to spending much more time in the activities that you're hosting, including the upcoming Women's Summit. I think we're going to send a bunch of people to that. So, anyway, Sandra asked me here tonight to talk just a little bit about KTI, who we are, what we do, and I think it goes without saying, tie it back into that culture piece, because we're really proud of it. So just a little history on who we are. So the business was started on January 1st, 1988 by Ken and his family as a distributor of products in the natural gas industry. Ken had worked in oil and gas since about 1959 and identified an opportunity in the gas business to do things a little differently than had been done in the past. Back then, most products were made in the States somewhere, sold and serviced likely by an American, made a couple trips up to Toronto to try to sell some stuff to the gas companies, and just generally didn't know too much about what makes us unique as Canadians. Most vendors then also generally only made one type of product, a meter or a valve or a piece of pipe. And so Ken had a vision, using his 30 years of experience, to kind of bring all that together, right? Service our utility customers locally, be able to bring multiple products together under a single umbrella, and kind of sell a bunch of products and services to our gas utilities in Canada as a one-stop shop. So that was kind of where he got his vision from. Seemed pretty straightforward until you consider the fact that he was 52 years old, had kids in university, quit his job, remortgaged his house, and started a small startup business with his family. So very, very, very impressive kind of start to that. I wouldn't have had the guts to do that today, obviously. And so when I say family business, really it is a family business in the truest sense of the word, and that started from day one. They had 3 kids, Dean, Dana, and Daryl. Daryl and Dean are in the room today, and they all had a really important role in starting up the business. Daryl was already fairly active in the film business, but found time to help with the financial and strategic foundation for the business. So really got a good start in that regard. And Dana and Dean were still finishing university. When they had some free time, they left their blood, sweat, and tears on the floor of the office in Richmond Hill, and just really, were instrumental in getting things started up. Obviously, long days, right, filled with wins and losses, opportunities and challenges, and thankfully, the wins exceeded the losses. The business grew, and that's really the start, right? Ken had a very strong belief that hard work always pays off, right? It's a message that I remember from my early days with the company. It's something I share with my kids today when you have a little bit of something doesn't go your way. Kids aren't used to failure these days, right? And so when they do fail a little bit, it's nice to reinforce those stories. And I remember Ken well telling me stories like that when I didn't meet what I wanted to do in a certain thing. So again, the business grew, added a couple new product lines over the next couple of years, outgrew the facility in Richmond Hill and moved into Markham, opened an office in Western Canada, up in Edmonton, outgrew the Markham office and had to build a facility up here in Aurora. So in 1998, built the first facility up here in Aurora on Earl Stewart Drive. At the time, we were literally the only building in that whole area. It might have been the Beanie Babies factory next door, if you remember, right? But outside of that, you could land an airplane on the roads and nobody would come near you. So things have obviously changed a little bit. Back then, the business obviously grew very rapidly, but very well managed. And thankfully for me, that required hiring some new folks, right? Some new people to help them grow the business. And so I joined the business in 1998 when I was working, as Al said, at Enbridge as a pipeline engineer, and I was a customer of Dean and Daryl's. In that role, I dealt with a lot of different vendors, right? Some folks that you kind of expect. Guys that would just sit down in your office, blab in your ear for an hour about nothing, and generally, overpromise and underdeliver. And so that really stood out as something. But when Dean stopped by to call on me, things were a little bit different. He was a guy that, that respected your time, was very knowledgeable, and even when he beat him at golf every once in a while, not anymore, but things changed. But I think most importantly, the entire business was focused on doing what they said they would do. The word, their handshakes were their word, and that was really, really important to me. I appreciated it as a customer because it really helped me do my job well. But what I later learned is it wasn't just something Dean and Daryl were really good at, but it was the foundation of the culture within the EY family, and it later became the foundation for KTI. At that point, they offered me a job for some reason, selling gas meters. Nothing goes without its we like to have fun at work. So, they called me meter boy for about 10 years. And I was okay with that. We sold a few meters and had some fun. But I was immediately welcomed in the family, right? Into both the KTI family and the EY family, which was really nice. Realized back then we probably had 15 or 20 people in the business. And my recollection of dealing with Dean and Daryl, where people just did what they said they were going to do, it extended to those 15 or 20 employees of the business. And to me it was fascinating, because it's not always the case anymore. And so on my first day, I kind of showed up getting ready to be indoctrinated into the school of do what you say you're going to do. But you didn't have to do that, right? It was just a culture, it was just a foundation of the business. And it was infectious. So you actually didn't have to do any of that kind of training on how to follow the company culture. We didn't call it culture, but it's really what it was. And it just kind of built the culture without even knowing it. So it was kind of a neat thing. By the early 2000s, the company had grown again, kind of with Ken's hard work will always pay off mindset. Core gas distribution picked up a couple of additional product lines. We expanded into the electricity market in 2005. Which allowed us to diversify, alongside of our gas business, add a new revenue source, and kind of helped us diversify our portfolio. Unfortunately, we lost Ken in 2006, but the company and the culture he created lived on and continues to flourish to this very day. The 2000s proved to be an exceptionally busy time for the company. Right? I look back on it, and it flew by. Our customer base and product portfolio was still growing. We added more staff. We outgrew the office in Aurora. We leased some space in Calgary at that point, outgrew that space. So we built a second distribution center in Aurora in 2006, a logistics facility in Uxbridge in 2015, another distribution center in Calgary in 2016, all to kind of fund this growth that we had, right? Again, I go back to that concept of you can grow quickly, but you have to do it wisely. And I think we were very lucky that we've done that. At that point, we doubled the size of the company in terms of number of people working there. So it kind of funded our growth through diversification strategy created by Dean and Daryl, and it went way into the 2010s, right? We expanded into the water market in 2014. We created an engineering services division in 2016, a utility services division in 2019. So now we kind of had gas, water, and electric utility products that we could sell to all three verticals. We created this engineering business that would help engineer, design, fabricate, and install large pressure regulating stations. If you drive around town, sometimes you see ugly pipes sticking out the ground. We build and manufacture and install those on behalf of utility companies across the country. And then we started the utility services business to kind of allow us to help our utility customers install the things we sell them. Water meters on the side, inside your basement, or on the little radio device inside of the house. So we've got a staff now running around, a call center, quality assurance folks that are all out in people's homes actually installing stuff. Way different business than just selling a valve to a customer. So we really learned a lot through that. And not a bad growth story, right? We're talking about some pretty fast growth in a relatively short period of time. I like to travel. I travel a lot for business. I like to travel a lot for pleasure, and quite often I'll sit next to somebody on the plane and they'll say, "What do you do?" And I don't know how to explain that, right? Like, how do you explain that? It's sitting in an airplane, it's not a super exciting story, right? But they ask me what we do, and I tell them a little bit. And I say, it's really not about what we do, right? We officially be, I guess, a industrial services company, but I try to think of us more of as a people company. We build stuff, we sell it, we sell hardware to industry, we install things, but we're only really successful because of the people we employ, right? We need them to work hard, we need them to enjoy their jobs, we need them to feel like they're treated fairly and get support from the company that they work at. So it's easy to say our team works hard. That's goes without saying. The easy part actually now is up to the leadership team, and that's taking care of their needs on an ongoing basis. So we really stopped to think about what our culture is, and it kind of extends into a little exercise we did. But we believe that we've created an environment that really challenges our teams, encourages diversity and inclusion. We provide competitive wages, great benefits, a retirement savings plan. We partner with RBC to do private employee financial planning. They've given us some access to employee assistance programs, and we have an employee wellness program, right? A gym in the building, some trainers that come in to help staff, just trying to be healthy at the same time as doing their jobs. I think the other thing that's helped us be successful is actually being here in Aurora. I remember when I came to work for them, I'm like, why the hell do I want to work in Aurora, right? It was an office in a field. And I was living almost downtown. But thankfully I did. The Aurora location now has really changed the employee base that we have, right? We're generally finding people with young families that don't want to sit on the DVP for an hour or take a train ride and wait in the rain. And so we're finding a lot of younger staff that are living local to the area, and that really enjoy working for us. Today our average employee has a tenure of about 11 years with us. A lot of 20-year folks, a lot of 30-year folks. So it says something, I think, about the culture that we've unknowingly kind of built over the years. So I told you a little bit about the company. I'll circle back to an exercise we did on trying to define our company culture back in 2019, right before COVID. Well, obviously, we didn't know COVID was coming, but we did know that KTI was a great place to work, and that the culture started by Ken in 1988 was really the driver behind that. But we couldn't put our finger on it, right? We couldn't say, well, this is our company culture. We're a relatively medium-sized, family-owned business, and we don't have a bunch of HR folks running around trying to survey people about what they think our culture is. But we thought it was important that we tried to understand that, right? The business was still growing. We wanted to understand what really drove us for our success. We know we're not going to be here forever. We got to keep this thing going. We're looking to give some direction to the next group of leaders at our company so they know what's important, right? So that they know how we got here. And we really think that's all tied back to culture. We needed to really define what's important in the business and why we do the things we do. And that's really why we set out on this little kind of company culture initiative. So first thing you do these days with anything is you Google company culture, right? Because why hire a consultant to do that? Google's your consultant. So the first definition we found was company culture refers to the beliefs and behaviors that determine how a company's employees and management interact and handle outside business transactions. Often corporate culture is implied, not expressly defined, and develops organically over time from the cumulative traits of the people the company hires. Right? That was literally the first one that popped up. And it really hit home for me because I look back at the 22 years, I guess, I was at the company then, and found it very clear that our culture absolutely developed organically over time. And it was really from the foundation that Ken, Elaine, Dean, Daryl, and Dana had set up. The people that joined the business early on in the company unknowingly kind of shared a similar set of values. And the people we're hiring today, they're cut from the same cloth. Right? It's kind of odd, but we find like-minded people to join the business. So to figure out what the secret sauce was, we sat down in a room, at a golf course actually, I think, and grabbed a bunch of folks from all over our business and tried to figure out what that was. Right? We were looking to find what our mission was and what our culture was, and it was actually pretty easy to do. We were really surprised because we all knew we were in business for more than a financial gain. Right? Obviously, everybody's in business to make some money, but we all knew that we wanted to leave the planet in a better place, and we found it. So it led us to kind of a mission and culture statement. And so our mission at KTI and the associated companies is that we help our customers build sustainable communities by delivering quality products, outstanding value, continuous innovation, and exceptional customer service. Right? Pretty simple. It's what our goal is. We set make sure I get five. Yeah, five different kind of missions or culture statements, right? And the first was integrity. Tried to put some words beside what that meant to us. We uphold the highest standards of integrity in all of our actions. And to me, that's table stakes in any business, right? Unfortunately, today, though, it's not uncommon for people to cut corners, to maybe turn a blind eye to win a big deal. And we're really steadfast in never going down that road, right? It's not anything we've ever done. It's not anything we'll ever do. The second was teamwork. And so we kind of put the words on the paper. We work together across boundaries to meet the needs of our customers and to help everyone succeed. I always kind of think of teamwork as that old saying, many hands make light work, make light work, right? So we've invested heavily in a bunch of things to have our teams work together. Simple things like effective meeting spaces and video conference systems, flexible work hours. But we also try to really focus on how do you build a high-performance team, right? It's more than just giving them the tools. It's bringing the people together. And so we've created some committees that help us do just that. They're involved in everything from lunch and learns to the Christmas party that we host at Magnet every year. Bring the gym back into the thing because we've got these boot camps that run on where teams challenge each other, and it's actually a pretty cool little environment. So again, really trying to bring those teams together to act as one. The fourth value in our proposition is being good citizens. And so we are good citizens in the communities in which we live and work. And we take that very seriously. We really push our people to try to get out there and give back to the communities that they live in. Right? We're in Aurora, we do a lot of that work in Aurora as well, but we really try to get our folks out in BC. We have some people in BC that spend a lot of time with the Rotary clubs out there. We've got people in New Brunswick that do similar things. Here in the Greater Toronto area, we're big supporters of South Lake Hospital, of Mackenzie Health, the Aurora Food Bank, United Way, Cancer Society, Covenant House, Chum City Christmas Wish, and we generally support a lot of youth sport organizations as well. We all have kids that play a lot of sports and give back a little bit. And the last one was transparency. The words that we use to describe that are we strive to provide employees with meaningful insights that build trust with leadership and an environment where people can give honest and direct feedback, know it will be heard, and shared with the right people. And so to me, that was probably my most important one. I'm not sure if Teehan and Daryl will agree with my transparency, but to me this is huge, right? At the end of the day, I believe it's why we have some really long tenured people. Is we have a lot of open, honest, and sometimes difficult discussions, but at the end of the day, it moves the ball a little bit forward. Our teams really know that everybody has a voice, and we really want them to be heard. So we create a lot of interaction to kind of capture that feedback, right? One-on-one meetings with supervisors all the time, real open door policy with leadership. Sometimes I hate my open door policy, but quite honestly, I think it's really important, right? And so people do share a lot more than I would have thought when we created that. And create a bunch of cross-functional think tank sessions on a regular basis to kind of break down some barriers and make sure we give customers a voice. I think I said that was our last one. We have one last one, and that's customer centricity. And the words behind it are we work hard to exceed our customers' expectations and always put them at the center of everything we do. It's really easy to say, exceptionally difficult to do. I lose my mind when I'm on the phone with somebody that you can't actually get the answer you need from the business because they've got to jump through 3 or 4 or 17 different hoops that mean nothing to you. I had to call the insurance company the other night, and I've got a private insurance broker, but they don't have a number. You call the regular number, and then they transfer you to somebody else. Then they transfer you to an agent, your representative, who might or might not be available. And all I wanted was to change the address on my account, kind of thing, right? But anyway, so we work hard at trying to break down those barriers because nothing drives me more crazy than that. We do that through regular business process mapping sessions, get folks in a room, figure out what we're doing well, figure out what we're not doing well, and try to capitalize on those strengths and weaknesses. So there you have it. That's kind of the secret sauce to what we think makes KTI been pretty successful. We had the whole culture initiative, we had some good plans on rolling out message boards and regular sessions to kind of reinforce the message. COVID clearly kind of sidetracked that. But it didn't sideline our team, right? They just kept going and did what we expected them to do. Transitioned to remote work without issue, supported customers when they needed assistance, and I think what was really cool is we saw that they helped each other, right, through some challenging times where somebody was sick or scared to come to the office and they needed something. We're essential services business, so we're still open, but transitioning to remote work, and it was really cool to see folks helping each other, right? That's when you know you've got a team, when somebody's willing to go to the office and you're not. So, kind of full circle, it really comes back to the definition of company culture, in my opinion. And again, it's being implied, not expressly defined, and developed organically over time from the traits of people that we hire. And in our case, the traits of the people that started the business, Ken and his family, really have extended with each new employee that we hire today. It really is very, it's amazing to see. So that's kind of the message I wanted to share with you guys. I'm really blessed to be part of, a very small part of a pretty cool thing happening in Aurora. And I think it's a great story. So if you have any questions, I'd love to talk to you guys. But close my remarks by just thank you for being here today, and to the Chamber for hosting the meeting, and for all the support that you guys provide to businesses in Aurora. You'll see us around more things, so we look forward to that. And of course, the Company Culture Award last week was super huge to all of our employees. We had a celebratory lunch today, which was very nice, and got some subs from a local Aurora sub shop. So, but yeah, obviously we were flattered with that, and just like to say thank you. That's